So do we want to look at First Republic really quickly? And then maybe sort of see if like a smaller bank like that is a little easier to understand. I think my cat is hiding somewhere. So let's make a quick model in First Republic. And First Republic stock is at $81. And so this is supposedly the next bank that's in trouble. Maybe we can figure out if they're actually in trouble. I just want the 10K, but I'm getting hundreds of other. Maybe. Okay, we're gonna try to find it a different way, maybe. Okay, I think I got it here. Okay, so here's the First Republic 10K. And as usual, we have shares outstanding right here, 186. So this is a lot smaller of a bank, right? 15 billion market cap. So you could be the largest stockholder of this bank with a mere $1 billion, or one of the largest stockholders. It's funny that actually in banks, if you try to become the largest stockholder of a bank, you actually have to get regulated as well. So they don't let just anybody be the largest stockholder of a bank. Isn't that funny? It's regulated by the OCC that I mentioned earlier. So for example, if I wanted to go buy all the stock of First Republic, they probably wouldn't let me. Or they probably wouldn't let a foreign company do that either. At least without like explicit permission. And maybe that's a good thing, I don't know. So here's their SEC filing. It's a lot smaller. You can see it's only, help me out, Adobe, 300 pages. And a bunch of that, as usual, a bunch of the stuff is boilerplate to begin with. So let's see if we can't find the income statement. And you can see that these, or balance sheet I should say. So you can see that a lot of these are very esoteric financial statements, unlike an industrial company like a pharmaceutical company or a tech company or a software company or something like that. Those are really easy to understand. Bank balance sheets are really hard to understand. We picked the biggest bank in the world, which is probably going to be the most complicated. So here's First Republic, which is a bit easier to understand. Let's look at that. All right, so this is hopefully going to be a lot simpler. They have cash, which I think we can get our head around, is $4 billion. They have debt securities that are available for sale, so these are bonds of $3 billion. They have debt securities held to maturity of $28 billion. Okay, we'll think about that in a minute. They have a tiny, tiny bit of stocks, and then they have a lot of loans. So this is like a very pristine balance sheet. There's no federal funds sold or anything like that. This is like really, really easy to understand. Debt available for sale, I'll just write that, and then held to maturity, and then equities, loans, life insurance. It's pretty small for them, just $3 billion. Tax credits, PP&E, almost no goodwill, and then other assets of 5 billion. So this is a 200 billion balance sheet. So this is almost like the same size, basically, as a Silicon Valley Bank. Sort of the top 20 bank, but not a JP Morgan. So this is a lot easier to understand. 212 billion, right? Life insurance, tax credits, PP&E, goodwill, and other. So this just took 1 second. So now we have liabilities. These are deposits. So they've got non-interest bearing deposits. I mean, to me, I think that's like ludicrous, right? That you could deposit your money in a bank and it doesn't earn interest. Non-interest bearing. Like, why? Then you have interest bearing checking. Then you have money market checking. I'm just going to add money market checking and savings to save time. I'm assuming those are pretty similar. And then CODs. And these are all their deposits. So they have 176 billion of deposits. And they have, those are the liabilities, right? And like I said, in a bank, the deposits are actually liabilities because they do have to return that money. It's not their money. They have to return it if it's asked for. So what's an FHLB advance? That's the Federal Home Lending Bank, I want to say. Federal Home Loan Bank, close enough. Interesting. Okay, so that's a debt. That's debt as well, basically. So unlike JP Morgan, they actually don't have too much debt, right? Although that's a lot from that federal. All right, so they have 15 billion in debt. So that's also a liability, obviously, right? And then they have this other liability, which is 3 billion. So total liabilities, drum roll please, is, wait, I didn't add that up right. Hold on. As I sum these. Okay. Total liabilities is 195 billion. So the book value is 17 billion. So here's where the rubber hits the road. This is really interesting. I want you to pay attention to this. The book value is 17 billion. And it makes sense, right? These assets are worth 212 and these liabilities are worth 195. These liabilities won't really change, right? People have put 176 billion in this bank. So if they want the money back, they're not going to wake up one day and ask for, oh, well, I want 170 back. Or they might wake up one day and say, I want 200 back. No, they put 176 in, they have the right to get 176 out. But on the asset side, this 212 billion, this might change. Why? Well, these are all bonds. The cash won't change. What about these loans? Well, if they don't collect those loans may not be worth 166 billion. They might be worth 150 billion if they're bad loans, right? The most they could be worth is roughly that much. But what about this? They have 28 billion of government bonds. But what are those bonds worth? What if they're worth less than what they're saying they're worth? What if those bonds have dropped really fast, which they have? What then? Well, the company only has 17 billion of cushion. So maybe that 17 billion is worth less if I mark this down. So what if I wrote another column here called reality? And I said, well, in reality, the cash is worth the same, but maybe this debt is worth the same. But what if these bonds were down 20%? Okay. And these stocks are worth the same, these loans are worth the same, this stuff's the same, this stuff's the same. This is not worth anything in terms of liquidity, neither is this. This I don't even know what it is, but I'll count it because I'm a nice guy. So now we're talking about real assets, and I'm being somewhat favorable here, of 206 billion. Well, these we all know, as I said, are going to be the same. The liabilities are still 195. So the actual book value of this bank could be as little as 11 billion. Well, what would happen if we had this, reality and fear, and that people said, you know what, I don't want my money in this company, First Republic. I'm going to take some money out. And what would end up happening is, well, I don't know if they can use other in a pinch. I don't know what is in other. So maybe they can use half of that to meet liquidity in a pinch, right? They can use all that cash. They can use all these available for sale. they probably can't use this held to maturity unless they sell it for an even more discount. Let's say they can use all these stocks. They can't really use the loans, right? Because the loans are, not exactly liquid. Let's say they're somewhat liquid. And I'm being very generous. If they had to sell all their loans tomorrow, they couldn't do it. Same thing here. They can't use their life insurance. And I doubt they can use their tax credit. So their actual ability to meet these loans is somewhat limited. And they still have all those liabilities. So I don't know, if half of these deposits wanted to move, they would not be able to do it, right? If $80 billion left this company, in fact, even if 10% of First Republic's deposits left, they don't have the cash to make them whole. They only have $4 billion in cash. How are they going to be able to withstand Monday? Oh man. I think I just I might have to make a phone call real quick. Shit. Oh man. Fuck. Okay, well, that's just one bank. There's other banks. Let's look at Signature.